Well, we got a little bit of an update to the future of Firewalk Studios. I'm very curious to what happens to this company because Sony put a lot of money in them, and then they released probably the biggest video game disaster of all time. I can't think of anything worse than what happened with this game. I mean, you have a major AAA title, comes out, it has such a disastrous launch that Sony has to pull the game completely and refund everybody. And this is a live service game, so you can't just leave it out there. There is no single player. It's a disaster. So the Concord director is stepping down. He says he's going to take on more of a support role in the studio, which, I mean, should anybody listen to this guy's advice? This is the shot caller for the game. This guy apparently invested a lot of himself into the game, was the guy that made all the big decisions, like putting an old lady in the lineup, someone so overweight that they have to pull their pants over their belly. I mean, these are just great characters for a hero shooter, I'm sure, that people would have just eventually taken to them. Some of the worst designs I've ever seen. Now, there was a source that came out and said that this was all by committee, and it kind of does make sense. I could see a lot of nitpicking over these characters and what kinds of characters go into this game. Like, you know, having an old woman in the lineup. It's just some of the dumbest decision-making ever, I think. So, Kotaku talked with some sources over at Firewalk. I hate that. See, Kotaku, they can still get this access. And you know why they get that access is because they play ball. But some people talked to them, and here's what was said in somewhat of a summary from GameIndustry.biz. I'd rather not give Kotaku clicks. I did read it, but we'll just use this one. It's short and sweet. Concord game director Ryan Ellis has reportedly stepped down from his position at Firewalk Studios, according to Kotaku. Sources told the publication that Ellis announced he'd be moving to a support role within the studio after the double A shooter was pulled from sale less than 2 weeks after its release on August 23rd. Are we calling that a double A shooter now? Are you sure? I mean, this game costs a lot of money. But, okay. Sure. Double A. Ryan deeply believed in the project and bringing players together through the joy in it, said a former developer. Regardless of there being things that could have been done differently throughout the development, he's a good human and full of heart. Well, what does that have to do with the game? I'm sure there's a lot of great people that have worked on bad projects. But, I mean, clearly looking at the finished product for this game, this guy should not be in charge of developing games. Maybe, I don't know what his background was, if he's a programmer or what. Maybe that's where he should be. Because clearly this guy let people, unless all of these decisions were his, he let people run over him and put some very stupid shit into this game, which didn't help it. So maybe they should have got somebody a little bit more willing to stand up for himself. I don't know the entire story here, and nobody does, but clearly this guy is not a good decision maker, and he lets himself be influenced by other bad decisions. I mean, that character line, not one character other than maybe one or two in the entire roster of this game looks good. Every character looks like garbage. So here's another interesting part. Sources also claim that Firewalk staff are uncertain of the studio's future. Some reportedly believe that it could become a co-development studio on other Sony projects, while many have allegedly shared concerns of layoffs and a possible shutdown of the studio. GameIndustry.biz has reached out to Sony for further clarification And you're not going to get that. Not anytime soon. I do think Sony is still thinking about things. The studio going forward as it is, probably not going to happen. I think they are either going to get shut down or they are going to become a co-development studio on other Sony projects. So, I mean, they made the biggest gaming disaster of all time. There's going to be repercussions for that. And it's crazy because Sony just bought the studio. They spent a lot of money on this studio. And they're just going to shut it down. Now, I don't know what made them believe in this studio so much. I don't know who looks at that Concord lineup and thinks, wow, we really got something here. This is going to change the industry. It's going to change it. Yeah, it sure did. Change it so that they learn not to make this kind of bullshit anymore. Man, this is a wild story. I wonder what's going to happen to them. What happens to Firewalk Studios? I do think it's going to be one of these two. They're either going to change into a co-development studio or they're going to get shut down and people are going to get shuffled off to other studios. That's what's going to happen, more than likely. I think they get shut down. I don't think they keep the studio intact. I think the studio gets shut down, and people that they want to keep get moved to different studios, and then, unfortunately, other people get laid off. That's what I think the future of Firewalk Studios is, if you want my opinion, which is why you're here. So I think they get shut down. They get shut down. They take the developers that they like, and they move them over to other places. But this Ryan Ellis guy, he's done. This guy will probably, unless he forms his own indie studio, never be a game director again. And I'm not so sure he should be. And then this is probably one of the biggest pieces of shit ever made. But I don't know. That Dragon Age Veilguard game coming out could beat that. I don't want to make a whole video on it, but there is all kinds of nonsense going on with that game. Including, so now you have the option to have the scars after getting breasts removed. You can have those scars now, but because everyone's going crazy about the custom creator for that game, I don't want to show pictures because I don't know how YouTube will respond to this kind of stuff. But there's pictures going around with the custom creator that, of course, the media is praising. But they leave this out. So when you scale over like your chest size, you can maybe have A cup, B cup breasts, and as far as like a butt, it looks like Taylor Swift's butt with the slider all the way to the right. I think Veilguard could be the next disaster. We'll see. I mean, nothing tops Concord because at least that game's single player. They won't pull it off the market, but I don't think that you're going to see that game selling big numbers either. I mean, it's clearly made for that modern audience, and we know they don't show up for shit. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. I'd like to hear from you. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.